Greetings, fellow Bible readers. It's about a week ahead of the start of our 2016 read-through of the Bible, and I wanted to get a video out to you about Bible translation so that next week you can have a Bible in hand and ready to go when we start reading. Now, when people ask, what translation of the Bible should I use, there are generally two translations that I suggest to people. One is the English Standard Version, or the ESV for short. It's the translation that we use here at Christ Lutheran Church when we read in our worship services. It's a good translation in that it's very reliable. However, the English, the one drawback is the English is kind of wooden. It's a little bit tough to understand at places. It almost kind of sounds at times like maybe Yoda was on the translation team and the word order is kind of a little funny. But it's a solid translation and you can get a lot out of it. Now, if you don't have an English Standard Version and you want to use that, the one that I recommend you pick up is you pick up the Lutheran Study Bible. This is put out by Concordia Publishing House in St. Louis. It's a solid Bible. Not only is it thick, but it also has a lot of good notes in there. Charts, background information, stuff like that that's useful when you read your Bible. So I'd recommend you get it. Because of those notes and charts, it is going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's worth the investment. The second translation that I encourage people to use is the New International Version, or NIV for short. And that comes in two varieties. There's a 1984 revision and there's a 2011 revision. And generally, I recommend to people to get the 1984 revision. It's readable, it's faithful, it's a good translation. The 2011, I don't really recommend that to people, generally because of two things. One, it uses a lot of gender-inclusive language, and so you kind of notice that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is kind of a little bit funky in places. The other thing, and this is the more important reason I kind of steer people away from the 2011, is that there are some places, especially in the Psalms, where you should be able to see Jesus, and the translation really makes it difficult, if not impossible at times, to see Jesus. And so for that reason, I kind of steer people away from it. Now, if you've got an NIV at home and you're not sure, well, is it the good 1984 or is it the not so good 2011? You can check the copyright page, and if you need help with that, just send me a message or email me and we can help you sort it out. There's one other translation that's out there that I'll mention as a possibility. It's not one I necessarily recommend to people, but it's one that you certainly can use, and I won't discourage you from using, and that's the King James Version, translated in 1611. So it's a little bit older. The English is therefore a little bit harder to understand and a little bit more challenging. But if you're up for a challenge, you can read it and you can get a lot out of it. And I'm not going to discourage you from doing it because, hey, reading the Bible, that's great. Now, if you're wondering, well, Pastor Becker, which translation are you going to use? Because we want to read what you're reading. Well, I am going to be reading a copy of the Bible that is a NIV 1984 translation. And the particular one I'm going to use is one that I've been reading for over 20 years now. And the reason for that is because as you use a Bible more and more, you may not necessarily get chapter and verse down, but you'll start to remember where on the page certain verses are, and that's a skill that's valuable, not just for me as a pastor, but I generally recommend to people that they use just the same Bible translation, because you can get that skill too. All you have to do is just keep using the same Bible and not jump from Bible to Bible to Bible to Bible to Bible, and then you start to develop that. So my encouragement is pick a translation, pick a particular Bible, buy it and use it and make that kind of your Bible. Now, another option that is out there, and it's a way really to access any of those different translations, is you can get them electronically. You can put them on your smartphone, you can put them on your iPad or your iPod or your computer if you've got a laptop or a tablet that you carry around with you all the time. If you think that you're going to be reading a lot on the go, and the easiest way for you to read is to just read something on your portable device that's with you, absolutely do it, because the best Bible is the Bible that you are going to read. In fact, that's most of the time when I read my Greek New Testament, this is how I read it on my smartphone, because it's easier. So just to recap, The top translations I recommend are the English Standard Version, or ESV, the NIV in the 1984 version. You can use the 2011. I'm not going to jump through the computer and take your Bible away from you, but it's just not as highly recommended. And then the other option is the King James Version. And all of those, I think, pretty much all of those, except for maybe the NIV 84, you can get on your smartphone. So we'll see you later this week for a video on how this whole process is going to work. And next week, we'll dive into it.